Hi, my name is Danielle Neely, your host of Industry Edge Podcast, where we talk with leaders working in and for the hardest working industries such as manufacturing, distribution, construction, and more. This episode is brought to you by KNC Marketing. KNC is a full service marketing agency that helps B2B industrial companies grow their brand and increase sales. They serve as either a fully outsourced marketing partner or supplement in-house marketing teams. To learn more about KNC's brand development, marketing, and website design services, visit kncmarketing.com. Before introducing today's guest, I have to thank Dustin Dowdy, President and CEO of Southeastern Tank and Custom Pump and Controls, for connecting me with this guest. Today's guest is Nick Newman, Executive Director of Tennessee Association of Utility Districts. Nick is no stranger to TAUD. He's been a dedicated utility member, an active committee participant, a board of directors member, and even served as the board president. With years of experience in the utility industry and a deep commitment to advancing its mission, Nick brings so much value and leadership to the industry, and I'm super excited to dive into his story. So with that, Nick, welcome to the show. Oh,
Mm, Yep, we're lagging here, but go ahead. I'm sorry. I had missed what you said.
oh, I said, welcome to the show. I introduced you to the folks, and then I said, welcome.
Thanks.
How you doing today?
I'm doing good today. Appreciate this opportunity to talk to you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'll start with something pretty simple. So I saw that your previous role was with Memphis Light Gas and Water. And you've had a long career in utilities. What kind of inspired you to pursue a career in this field, and how has your perspective changed on it over the years?
Yeah, so I don't, unfortunately, most people don't in high school look at a career in the utility industry, and I didn't as well. I knew I was going to be an engineer because I'm a Newman, and we're either working construction or engineering. And so I got an engineering degree, and when I came out of college, everybody was into electronics and robots and space and all that, and kind of wanted to get in that field, and really wasn't an opportunity. So a utility job came open. So I kind of fell into it. So it wasn't something I really was really looking forward to, but or looking into. But however, once I got there, I realized that there is a great career in the utility industry, not just the linemen. Everybody knows about linemen and what they do, and they make good money. There's great careers: gas, water, telecom, sewer, wastewater, all that. And so we do a better job of doing that today, talking about that today. But when I was in school, everything was about electronics and controls and things like that. Um, how things have changed, like I said, most utilities are kind of a family type atmosphere. We, especially the water industry, I'd say it probably is more than the rest, but electric and gas and others as well. You just realize there's all kinds of opportunities. When I worked at Light Gas and Water, we had positions for just about every field there was, except for a doctor. We even had a nurse that worked in the utility industry.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's all kinds of careers in utilities. Um, well, it was a big shop. We had almost 3,000 employees, so you had a nurse to kind of help with day-to-day things and helping with paperwork and all that. So there's the opportunities are limitless in the utility industry, and I'm glad to be a part of it for so long. And actually, I have got an opportunity to go out and talk to high school kids, even junior high kids, about careers in the utility industry. Because some people just don't grow up and say, "Hey, I want to go want to run a water plant," or "I want to
Right.
go be a guy that runs the SCADA desk that does the power and turns the power on and off for homes and things." So there's lots of things to do. It's just not a lot of communication about that. We got to do a better job of that in the future.
Yeah, just exposure to it. That's kind of something I talked about with Dustin. It's like, no, I didn't dream of running, this kind of
Right.
business, anything like that. It's not necessarily the glamorous, the sexy, but it's essential to like our
Right.
communities and our nation, our world. So it's something that's so important, but it's not necessarily the career that's glamorized or even talked about. So the fact that, there's things out there that you can be talking to younger people today, like this is an amazing career that impacts communities. That's huge. I love that. What has been some of the most rewarding, it is such a powerful job and a powerful industry that you're in. What has been the most rewarding experiences so far working in utilities?
As before, yeah, just one thing I do want to talk about is, TAUD is very involved. We have an apprenticeship program that through NRWA, National Rural Water Association, that's good. Mississippi State is a university here in Tennessee that has degrees in water operators and things like that. So we're doing a better job with that. But you're right, we still got to do a lot, get a lot more out there because there is careers in it. Probably, it's interesting you say that. My last job at MLGW is a vice president of engineering and operations. Before that, I was vice president of construction during a reorg. So I've got a lot of leadership time in under my belt. So probably my most important project was a project at the Navy base in Millington, Tennessee, back in 2000, where I was a small, younger engineer, just kind of getting my feet wet in the field, and got an opportunity to go do a project that honestly no one else at the company wanted to do. It was at the time, about a $15 million project doing upgrades to the military, getting rid of their steam system, putting in natural gas, doing electric boilers, the whole 9 yards. So I went from managing myself as an engineer to managing teams of around 100 to 150 people. And I think as far as leadership style, I think, for me, I kind of call it adaptive leadership. So you need to lead somebody the way they want to be led. You
Mhm.
treat linemen different than you treat engineers. I learned that firsthand. A lineman, you get him in a room, you cuss him out, you tell him what you're supposed to do, you tell him what he did wrong. You do that with an engineer, they're going to shut down. Some of them.
Mhm.
But you got to figure out what makes your employees tick. If it's positive, if it's negative, what makes them want to do more, and what makes them um, feel better as you a leader, as you being their leader and helping them get through their struggles. So I kind of adapted that when I was at the Navy base project because, like I said, then once I went from managing lots and lots more people, the numbers of people up into around, make them height, I managed around 1,300 at like gas and water in all facets. I've learned to be more of a servant leader. So it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm there for them. I need to, I want them to be successful. And, and if I can do something to make somebody be more successful in their career, that's probably the most satisfying thing about my job ever over the entire tenure. So if you have a promotion and you promote somebody and you think, I think they're really going to struggle in this role. I'm not so sure if they're the right person. You may not have had a good pool to pick from, or you may not have had the experience or education or whatever you thought was needed. And when that individual goes out there and excels and really nails it and does a great job and becomes a leader themselves, there's not a better feeling in any industry there is. There's not a better feeling when you've got somebody that you really have concerns about and becomes a person that you knew they could be. That's probably the most satisfying over designing substations or building, transmission lines or, designing gas systems or anything like that. When we can build a person or even a group. As vice president of construction, I think I built the best team ever in the history of light, gas, and water. Now, shortly after that, we reorged, and I had to go build another team somewhere else. But I think that's probably the finest team of specialists that I've ever had the opportunity to work with in my entire career. Here at TAUD, the team's already here. They're already experienced folks. A lot of them have retired from other jobs. So the experience level and the knowledge of this team is far and beyond, anything I would have expected coming here. But getting the opportunity to actually build a team in Memphis was probably one of the most satisfying times in my career over the
Mhm.
last 37 years.
That's amazing. That servant leadership, I feel like that's something that a lot of leaders get wrong. And it makes such a big impact on retention and whether or not, and being able to identify if that person is the right person in that seat. So like, hey, you're a really good worker, you're great at this, but that might not be the right move for you. So being able to kind of guide and lead people through that's a huge skill set and what a good mentor that you can be to people with having kind of that servant mindset versus a boss-like mentality. I love that. How you said you mentioned that at TAUD, people are more experienced. There some of them are retired. They've been in the industry for a long time. How has your servant leadership and that style of leading have you had to pivot at all or like change anything up, knowing that these people are extremely like seasoned and well into their careers? And how has your like leadership evolved, kind of stepping into that role?
So yeah, being kind of a new role, I know electric, gas, and water, very experienced with it. Wastewater, some I didn't know a lot about, some experience with it. So I'm this first year, I haven't been here quite a year. I'm going to learn what they know. I want to learn, what their skill sets are. But yeah, I'm trying to learn from these guys as much as they're needing, help from me.
Mhm.
They're all self-motivated. They work throughout the state of Tennessee, all of them remote work. I know they're getting the job done every day. So it's a little different than when I first started out. You punch the time clock, you got to be there at 9:01, 9:02. You're in trouble. It's a different world these days. I couldn't tell you what my guys and girls are doing half the time. I just know the product that they produce and make sure that I am staying in touch with them and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to. But I know they are
Mhm.
already. I really don't have to, but it's just I think it is good to let them know that you're interested, just to
Mhm.
let them know that you're interested, not that you're picking on them, not that you're, not think they're doing their job. But I think, the younger generation's a lot different than mine. Mine was more, believe it or not, more dollar oriented, what I get paid, what I could do. And then the younger folks today are really more, I want to be challenged. I don't want a job where I come in and build widgets. I want to be able to think. I want to be able to provide input. I want to be able to have a say in what goes on around here. And so as a leader, you've got to pivot to that. If not, you're going to lose them because there
Yeah.
are people all over, other companies all over the country that are doing that. So you're definitely going to lose them.
Yeah. No, that's so like, and that the impact that they can make, like versus that it's not the dollar amount, but what is the impact that my job is having? Like that is so much bigger, yes,
Yep.
as the young and feeling like not micromanage, but that your boss or your management team or your team listens to you. I feel like that, like just
Yep.
people want to feel part of a team. People want to feel understood. So it's like if you can have that kind of empathetic, empowering heart by nature, people are going to be more apt to want to tell you what's going on proactively and say and be excited about it versus feel like I got to tell so and so this. So I feel like that's totally the right mindset. What do you feel like
Yeah,
is
and as a leader, I really feel like you need to be approachable. Leaders in the past didn't want to deal with it. Hey, deal with my assistant, deal with your manager. I mean, as a
mm,
leader, you gotta want to hear from your folks. If you don't want to hear from your folks, you're a poor leader. You're not a leader. So I think that's really one of the most important points as well.
yeah. That's kind of something that I was just talking on another interview that I just had with her name's Ginger Duncan. She's an executive coach and she works with really high performing leaders. And she was talking about, she was like, people forget to be curious about their people. Like people forget to have empathy and just be curious about their work and what they're excited about. And when you lose that curiosity in your people, it's like where that connection is lost and then they don't want, it's like they're not going to want to work hard for you and perform for you if you don't have a genuine interest. So I love that. What do you feel like
Sure.
is some of the most pressing challenges that the utilities are facing in Tennessee today?
Well, the list is long. We've kind of talked about a little bit is getting employees that want to be in this industry and want to stay in
Mhm.
this industry. You know, capital dollars funding for projects is a big deal.
Mhm.
And there's lots of money being given out by the federal government, but honestly, some of the rules and regulations on how you get those dollars and what you've got to do, and it's very complicated. It makes it complicated, but the infrastructure is in bad shape. Definitely need a lot more work there, and that's in the billions of dollars. Um, on that front, we've got a lot of utilities that are struggling. TAUD does a good job working with these smaller utilities to make sure they get what they need. If we can find some grant funding, we will. We work real closely with those folks. Regulations is another big thing. federal government and state are really bad about adding regulations to these utilities to get things fixed and get things worked, and they're non-funded. So, PFAS is one. I don't know if you've heard about that. It's pretty much just kind of like plastic fibers in the water, all kinds of requirements. So that coming up, and that's going to be a $1 billion issue. It'll be more important than lead was after the Flint issue. So, there's lots of opportunities for them. And then, unfortunately, and I don't want to get political, but when we change leaders at the top, the priorities change and things shift. You thought you had funding for this, that gets cut, and that's every 4 years. Some of these projects take 4 or 5 years, 6 years, to get done. As long as you can get that solid commitment, these things are going to be funded and paid for, it's good. But, I'd say probably the biggest thing is just getting the dollars to get our infrastructure upgraded. Is
Mhm.
probably the biggest issue I see for utilities across the state.
Yeah. That, do you, so how, with your involvement with TAUD over the years and the different capacities that you've seen it, how has your journey in the utility industry led to this role? Like when they called you and they're like, "Hey, Nick, do you want it or not? Like the job's yours." Like, how did you feel in that moment? And was it something that you kind of had been working towards making that pivot in your career, or how did that go for you?
I'm sorry, you cut out just a little bit. Just how did I get to the TAUD job?
Yeah, like was it something because you've
Okay,
had a experience
got it.
with it before, so was it something that when they called you, you were like you were ready for and you were expecting, or was another one of those things where you were like, "Dang, I'm happy where I'm at and I'm ready." So how did that
Yeah.
go? Just from a pivot standpoint.
Gotcha. So unfortunately, I'm in this role because we lost the executive director, Bob Freudenthal, who was a pillar, probably one of the best executive directors there ever were, nationally notarized. He's a hard act to come behind. I put it to that. He passed away due to after a long illness. So I never really thought about the job, to be honest with you, because I was happy in Memphis. My plan was to work there another couple of years and then retire. When the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity came open, a couple of board members talked to me and goes, "Hey, is this something you'd be interested in?"
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd have to relocate from Memphis. That's a big deal because all my family's there. But, I just felt like it was a job for me. I think I'm equipped for it. I think my leadership style and my personality type is good for this position. Felt like I'd be a good fit for the board. Thank goodness they went through an interview process and they decided that I would be the selection for this position. And I love my job. It's a lot of fun. I get to do something different every day, travel the state of Tennessee and visit with lots of good folks doing good work across the state. So it wasn't something I was looking for. Doug McGowan, the president of CEO of MLGW, he kind of gets on me because when he first got there, because he's new in that capacity, he came from the city. Yeah, I told him he had 2 years with me and I was going to retire, and then he only got around 6 months. So he he likes to make that joke that he thought he had me for 2 years and I turned around and left him. But it was just because the opportunity rose, came up, and it was an opportunity for me to get there. I hate it. I'd rather Bob still be with us, and I'm still in Memphis designing substations and all. But it's an opportunity, and I love the job. I love working with the folks.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, if that sounds like it's timing, like which it's what an unfortunate thing, but also like all in God's timing and how everything works out for a reason. And I'm sure that you're supposed to be in that. You're gonna touch people in ways that this was the timing that was right for it. So that I like that.
I think
Uh,
so.
what do you feel like? From if you had to look back on, you said that you led a lot of teams. Is there a specific like person or instance that you can recall or remember that just makes you feel really, really good about how you led them or saw their career or like a compelling story that comes to mind?
Yeah, Shandrika Winston is a lady that works at MLGW in Memphis. I've known her forever, 25 years, a lot younger than me. Um, just a star, and it's been fun to be a part of her career. Um, so she worked kind of the same path that I did, a little bit different through engineering and through construction and all that. she kind of followed, behind me because she's a lot younger than me. And so when I retired, she was successful in taking my job. So, or part of my job, they actually split my job up into two jobs when I left, which happens.
You
But
were busy.
she took on the vice president. Yeah, yeah. Well, they added the construction part too, so it's not quite exactly split it up. But so Chandrika is now the vice president of gas and water uh, and the engineering division. So yeah, I mean, and there's several others. Brad Gates is a good friend of mine. He's now the manager of electric distribution. Folks that I've kind of worked with over the last several years, and then as you leave, I just think that, I was easy to replace. We got lots of good talent there, and it's because I did a pretty good job of succession planning, which I think is important.
Hmm.
But also, they're just some good folks. There's lots of discussion about, what you did in your career, what could you change, what would you like to do different. One thing that I always did. Now it cost me lawsuits and it cost me EEOC complaints and it caused me harassment, not harassment, but discrimination cases. I always picked the best candidate for the job. I always selected the best person, no matter what pressure I got
Hmm.
politically from human resources. And I think that's important to make sure you put the right person. In doing that, I think I left a really good succession plan for me and for folks that work for me as well. But yeah,
Hmm.
there's the list of folks I've worked with who are now moved up to that top management tier at Light Gas and Water is fun and exciting for me to see them be successful.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Being able to see people that you've mentored have the success is what it's all about. I love that. What questions have I not asked you about
Right.
TAUD that we should know about?
Would you say about TAD? I'm sorry,
Oh no,
just
it's
a little
okay.
bit.
It's okay. Hotel Wi-Fi. I get it. I get it. I said, what,
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
no, you're okay. What questions have I not asked about TAUD and what you guys are doing? Should I be asking
Sure.
that the people should know about?
So the biggest thing TAUD is technical assistance. So we work with around 400 utilities across the state. Most of them are really small that need technical assistance. So we'll come out, boots on the ground, help them whatever they need done, water, wastewater, and then some gas.
Hmm.
Also, we do tons of training. We do training for the operator's license. We do, you name it, any kind of training around utilities, we do that. So that's our two big things that we do. We've got a team that's very established. Recently, we had the floods in East Tennessee
Hmm.
from Hurricane Helene. We had boots on the ground the next day, helping get utilities back up and running. And my team was essential in getting that done. Now, unfortunately, I was in Hawaii during that event, which was not fun because storm restoration is my favorite thing to do as far as utilities go. But my team really shined, got out there and really helped all those utilities. TAU does a whole lot more than that, but to me, that is our two biggest things, and that's why we're here. Like I said, we do an apprenticeship program that we help get utilities set up to get qualified folks working for them that are trained. We provide operators when there's needed, when their operators retire. So there's a lot that we do, but our biggest thing is, and what the government helps fund us is for technical assistance and training for smaller utilities and water and wastewater. That's the biggest thing we do.
That's awesome. That was a great overview. Dang, you were all the way in Hawaii when all that went down, and that's your favorite part? You had to that was like a true testament. You're like, I
Yep,
gotta let my
yep,
people fly. You were far away and you had
yep. It drove me nuts.
you, you're like, oh my gosh, can't
Yeah,
sleep.
so kind yeah, kind of the running joke in Memphis was, I was in crisis management my entire career. So I was a crisis manager over, electric, gas, water, locust, floods, famine,
Hmm.
whatever the emergency was, I was the crisis leader for. So really enjoyed that part of it. I was able when I got back to go tour the utilities and talk to them and figure out what we did well and what we didn't do so well.
Hmm.
So we'll be getting the team together first of the year, coming back with a better emergency response plan for when that happens again. Because it's not if, it's when it will happen again, we'll have an issue.
Right. How you can improve next time. I love that. I'm sure that having you actually come
Yeah.
out on site to see how it went too, that's got to mean a ton for those folks that are working out there. So that's amazing. Well, awesome. I have one more question. So if you were to give one piece of advice for someone that's just now entering the utility industry, or for somebody who doesn't know anything about it but might be pursuing a career in or a degree in engineering or something that would go along with the lines of it, what would be your piece of advice or your encouragement to them?
So, for me, my philosophy through my entire career was take opportunity. If somebody offers you something and it's the betterment for the company, do it. It may not be something that you want to do. I got rotated to around 27 different areas while I worked at Light Gas and Water. Some of those were 6 month stints, some of those were 2 year stints. And some of them I didn't want to do, just to be honest with you. But I think any opportunity that you can expose yourself to other people and other parts of the company, I think that gets your name out there. And I think that's key why I was able to become a vice president. I mean, if
Mhm.
you told me when I first started Light Gas and Water, I'd be the vice president over engineering, I'd have laughed in your face. I just pretty much wanted to do designs and do my thing. So,
Mhm.
take those opportunities. If you're in college, not everybody is, equipped to be a rocket engineer or whatever. There's lots of great careers in utilities that pay good money. Now we've really improved that a lot. The utility pay typically across the state is pretty good in comparison to some of the other engineering fields. The starting pay is the same. And then one thing you also have to keep in mind, and they say young people don't care about this, but I don't believe it. The benefits typically around utilities are really good. Pensions, vacations, holidays, schedules, and things like that. Insurance is a big thing. Utilities have known to try to help take care of their folks better than some of the private sector and even some of the private utilities, although I think the public sector does a little better with that. But I would just say just go out there and look it out. Don't if somebody comes to your college and is looking from a utility company, looking to promote, go talk to them. We had issues with that when I'd go out and do recruiting. No one wanted to talk to a utility company. They wanted to talk to the private sector. Give them a shot. At least listen to them. I mean, I
Mhm.
tell you, I didn't expect to stay in this industry for as long as I have, but just learn what there is out there and take advantage of it because there's great careers. I
Yeah.
put 2 kids in college and probably gonna put 3 grandkids in college on a utility salary, so it's not bad at all.
Yeah, I will say that's awesome. And like you said, just be a yes person. I feel like that's like the message there of like say yes to opportunities. You don't know what
Yep.
you might learn to love something. I think a common thing I've heard is on everyone that I've interviewed so far, they didn't like anticipate falling into the career that they're now in, and now they love it, and
Right.
they've grown and they never would have thought anything different. So if you can be a yes person, you might just land your dream job. So I love that.
That's
Awesome.
correct. Yep.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to wrap it on up. So we've been talking with Nick Newman, Executive Director of Tennessee Association of Utility Districts. Nick, can you tell the people where we can learn more about you and TAUD?
You can go on the website. It's taud.org. It's got our mission, it's got our goals, it's got kind of what we're doing. It's got our list of utilities that are members, if you want to go look at that, and also our associate members who are our vendors, we call them, that work with us as well. Yeah, go check it out, and it's all kinds of training schedules on there if you need some training for anyone in your area or your company. But check us out. That's where taud.org.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time today, Nick. I really appreciate it. This was
All right.
great.
Thank you.